Women of color aren't making progress in the workplace. Why? Part 1. According to a report by Mercer on global gender diversity, gender representation is on the upswing. However, if we slice that data in an intersectional way, that is, looking not only at gender but also at race and ethnicity, we see a different story emerge. The progress that has been made by women over the past few decades has overwhelmingly been made by white women. It is clear in these results. As we move up the career hierarchy, we lose diversity, and this happens disproportionately more often with race and ethnicity than with gender. And according to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Data Gap Report 2020, figures for workforce participation are not improving when women of color are included. McKinsey and Lehman's 2021 report on women in the workplace in corporate America also found that gains in representation for white women in senior leadership don't translate to gains for women of color. Women of color continue to lose ground at every step of the career ladder. Between the entry level and the C-suite, the representation of women of color drops off by more than 75%. As a result, BIPOC women account for only 4% of C-suite leaders, even though they make up 20% of the workforce. This number also hasn't moved significantly in the past 3 years. The disparity doesn't stop at the C-suite. A Deloitte report on board diversity published in 2021 revealed that white people make up 82.5% of seats on Fortune 500 boards. The only group that has increased in representation in the past year is white women, gaining 21% more seats since 2018. Visible minorities have not made any progress, and once again, visible minority women are the most underrepresented, at 5.7%. None of this is to imply that white women don't face significant challenges. Regardless of race, women are underrepresented in leadership. They face microaggressions that only increase as they become more senior in an organization. But because of the intersection of racial and gender bias, women of color are more heavily impacted by all those challenges. And the impact is not simply the sum of race plus gender. The impact is more like a multiplier, where one compounds the other. When it comes to workplace equity, do racialized women have more in common with white women or racialized men? Occasionally both, but usually neither. The story of women's progress in the workplace has by and large been a story of white women's progress. When white women move forward, we are often left behind. The same applies to racialized men. A lot of racial and gender equity work does not benefit us, so our story is never told and our progress isn't measured. Very few studies are intersectional, and I mentioned most of them. If only white women are making progress, then that needs to be called out each and every time we talk about gender equity. We have to recognize a problem before we can solve it, and equity cannot exist without intersectionality.